Okay folks, welcome back to Dave Does. Here we are in the shop, sorry for the noise, just heating it up in here. Today's project is going to be nothing but hopefully just a lot of the light structure itself. We'll get this piece here all cut down with the cutouts in the corners so it goes in, so the uprights sit in there nicely. We'll go ahead and we'll make the piece that fits in here. We'll also cut out the pieces for that. I've got the wiring for the light, so that'll be great. So we'll work on that a little bit if we have time. Here's the hatch I was talking about. The hose, not the hose, pardon me, the electrical cable goes in there. If you can see, there's a bit of a restriction in here. We're going to cut that out, so the cord flows freely through. And then when the cord's out, there's this little door here that should stop critters and any undue moisture get in there. So, welcome back to Dave Does. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the little bell, and you'll be notified every time I upload a video. So I'm going to go ahead and set all this up and then get right back to you. Alright, hopefully you can hear me okay. I still have the fans on, just heating the shop up just a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing here is just marking out. As you can see, it's not perfect, but that's all right, that'll fill in. So all I'm going to do is grab a pencil, and as I go around, I'll just make sure all these fit right in the very edge there. And we'll just mark them out, what has to be cut. So there we go, they sit in there like that. Of course they're a little loosey-goosey right now, but that's okay. Once I glue them in, clamp them in, they'll be nice and straight. Of course I'll put the top on so it all gets, it remains straight. And at the same time we glue these guys. No, I gotta wait a little bit until I get until the glue sets up, then we'll set this in for sure. I think I'm going to want something else that would like that, because that's going to be too much pain to notch it. So I was slightly getting ahead of myself. I've got to notch these angle pieces like that to receive the Lexan. So I've gone ahead and I've set up the saw. This is just a test piece to see how deep I should get it. So that's about right. You know, all these smaller pieces here. So Luckily, I've got lots of this wood, so if I happen to mess up, I can easily make more. Let's hope I don't mess up. So let me just get my hearing protection, and I will add some push sticks, and we'll start cutting them. So there we go, we've got them all notched. You can see that. And the Lexan will go in there nicely. So now we just gotta, now we'll go ahead and we'll glue them all in. All the way around, we'll make sure they're parallel. I'll probably make a little spacer just to make sure they're, each one is absolutely parallel. I could go ahead and cut the Lexan and slide that in now, but I just don't want to get it all gluey. Even though that might be the smart thing to do. But then we got to put, of course we got to put that on. So let me set this up and I'll get right back to you. So with these pieces here, I cannot get the clamps in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shave these down a little more with my multi-tool, and so I gain access. Because if not, when I clamp them, they don't sit flush. They clamp out like that, and I can't have that. So let me get my, so let's do that. So there we go, let's do a test piece. In there, clamp goes in and holds it secure. You can see how that fits in there real nice like? That's how it's supposed to be. So I've got the slots in there. What I want to do is just make sure those slots line up. Yep, they'll work. We'll be able to fit the Lexan in there. It'll be a little sloppy, but that's okay. I might have to shave a little of these guys down to get that in there. They're supposed to be on a 22-degree angle, just like the other ones are, and that's what I set the saw to. So yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll put these in. We might have to do some sanding later on. Yep, we'll carry on with that. Okay, there we go. I'll go ahead and put the top on now, line everything up, and we'll let that dry. And we'll line everything up. So there we have it. We'll let that dry up. And as we do that, we're going to reposition the column back up here, and we're going to put the wire access, the cable access in for that. There's just a quick shot. I've just clamped the top as well to make sure everything lines up top to bottom. The top is not glued yet. All right, onto the column. Okay, as you guys know, the stairs go on this side here. You can see the line for the door and where that goes. Where I'm going to put this is on the other side. Spin this around. I was thinking about putting it in the shack like that, but there'll be too much resistance for the cable to go through. Hopefully you can see that. For the cable to go through into the column or the base. So what we're going to do is that's going to be drilled in right there. That'll sit in there nice. There's lots of room. This is 5/8, this is 5/8, the bottom is quarter, there's another piece of quarter going on the bottom. So let me get that drawn out. What we have to do first is this little lip here, is get rid of that. So I'll just buck that off on the saw, and I'll get right back to you and I'll show you when I draw the line, I cut the hole. So there we go, I've cut it down, a little bit of residue on there from the saw. We'll clean that up nicely. So that should sit there just like that. Sorry, I can't show you the actual pencil, but it goes like this. I'm going to turn it upside down to get under there. There we go, that's the hole we got to build. And that will sit just in there. I might have to cut that down a little more. I wouldn't mind having it the same thickness as the base, which is 5/8 plywood. All right, we'll set up the drills and the saws and we'll get right back to you. Okay, we're gonna start by drilling a big hole in the middle. And then we'll use the jigsaw to jig it out. I'm gonna reposition you. There we go. I got little screws, we can screw that in there. It'll open up, we'll have to clean that up a little bit. And that's our access hatch for the cable storage. Not 100% sure if this shows up all that well, but I've drawn lines on here where the railings are gonna go. They're all 3/4 of an inch in from the end. And I have to drill holes for dowels that of course will sit up about the same, roughly the same height as this piece here, maybe just a little more. And of course that will sit on there. Let me pull this back a bit for you. And that will of course be centered for one thing, it's not right now. Something like that, and then with the railings up there it'll look pretty nice. I have yet to figure out what I'm doing for the actual railings themselves. The uprights will be dowels and the railings themselves, I'm not 100% sure yet. Might be other dowel glued in and then made to look really nice with some joint compound. But I'll keep you updated on that, and on to the next thing. So yeah, sorry about the fan. Let's get back to the door a little bit. I just was looking online, and the door has a window. So that's what these little guys are for. I'm not going to put any holes in anything. I'm just going to go ahead and make the frame for the window, and then we'll paint it black inside. Also, there's a window on the shack, but I can put that in later on. Also, on the stairs, there's a railing. There's a railing on the side of the stairs that's to the lighthouse column itself. So there will be a handrail that comes up like that. We'll make that at a 1/4 inch. This is just some nice little stuff here. So what I'm going to do, let me get my snipping tools and my glue all ready. I just got to clean, as you can see, I got to clean this up just a little bit. But I glued it on the parchment paper. It stuck a little bit. You just touch it off and it pops right off. It's not like gluing it to wood or anything. So we'll get that set up and we'll get right back to you. All right, what we're continuing on with now is the frame for the door. I just got to clean it up just a little bit. There's a little bit of glue. I don't know if you can see that in there. In the corners, glopped out. Now this thing you've got to be very, very careful of until it's actually glued onto the shack. It is glued. It has set up very, very nicely, but it's only held on by these little spots here. So you still have to be fairly careful with it. All right, let's build a window. We'll draw some lines on there to sort it all out to make sure everything looks symmetrical. I think if we go, no, ½ inch might be too much. Let's go 1/4 inch. And I don't think 1/4 inch is going to be small enough. No, we want it in about there. All right, let's see what that is. Let's see if it looks good from the top. So what's that gonna work out to be? Three-quarters of an inch by an inch and an eighth. Make it 1 1/8 inches the whole way around. So it's that top line right there. Cool beans. Now, these little guys. Mark off 1 1/8 inches. Right there. There's a couple ways to do this. You can either cut it with a sharp X-Acto knife, or I can use my snippers. The X-Acto knife is can be a little better. What I'm going to do, move this over here. All right, like I said, we just gotta move this around a little bit. Let me get that. right, what we're going to do now is mount the door frame. We'll get that in there. Get my glue ready. So what we have to do is simulate the other piece that goes on the bottom. Put the stairs in. Center that best we can, right about there. Perfect, all right. Smear a little glue on this guy. We can center the stairs a little later on. I just want to get the gaps right. Now, just don't touch that. We'll just leave that alone for a little bit. Once that's secure enough to be left alone, I'll move it, and then we're going to continue on with the light structure. All right, what we're going to carry on now with is the light structure. We'll take off all of these clamps. I get some larger clamps, I'll be right back to you.